Hello there, viewer. I am back for another poll ramble, this time on the old school content poll number 60, Portal Nexus and more. As we draw ever closer to delivering the updates offered in the old school content poll, we'd like to offer some new updates for your voting pleasure. Now, I will preface this and say I did read the devlog a few days after it came out. I know they updated it since, but this is the first time I am rereading the questions in this poll, so I am a little familiar with what's going to be asked, but now, yeah, I'll explain. If any polls require explanation for what's in the devlog, I will do my best to explain them to you. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Question 1. Should the Portal Nexus as described in the devlog be added to the game? The Portal Nexus is built in the Nexus room of a player-owned house which requires level 72 construction. At 72 construction, the Portal Nexus is limited to 4 teleport locations. At 82, it can be upgraded to 8 teleport locations, and at 92, it can be upgraded to remove the limit entirely. Alright, so to my understanding, the Portal Nexus room, well, the Portal Nexus will be in the Portal Nexus room, which is an entirely new room in your POH, which would allow you to combine every teleportation portal into this Nexus for a certain fee. Now, I would vote no to this question, simply on the principle that I believe teleporting is busted in this game, and it needs to be addressed because it's throwing off the balance of the game. So I don't think there should be any buffs to teleports, especially POH teleports, until they correct the balance of how teleports are already in the game. So my vote is simply saying I don't approve of you dedicating your time to buffing teleports when it needs to be balanced. Question 2. If the Portal Nexus is added to the game, should there be a hotspot that allows you to mount a Xerix Talisman? This would require 72 construction, 1 mahogany plank, 1 gold leaf, 1 Xerix Talisman, 500 Lismet, etc, etc, etc. The same thing, the same answer as the first question, but one thing I do want to point out is it said if the Portal Nexus is added to the game, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. I think it's just interesting because they'll only offer this unlimited teleport if this other unrelated, well, not unrelated, but I don't really see a reason why a Portal Nexus room would be required to mount a talisman. You can already mount jewelry and other things in your POH, if I recall correctly, but more or less the same answer, though I will add that I am not a fan of unlimited jewelry or unlimited teleports of any kind. In the defense of the old school developers, I did watch the Q&A after they posted the devblog, and they said that the amount of resources they require for these unlimited teleports usually far often outweigh the amount of resources players usually would spend in their entire duration of playing the game going to these locations. But I don't like unlimited teleports because it plays into the theme of convenience scape that the JMods have allowed old school to become. There's this saying that goes, democracy works until the people vote themselves all the gold. Something like that, but I think these types of questions fall into that category where people will, of course, 85% of the voting population will of course vote yes for this because it makes it more convenient for them to do the Xerix Talisman teleports because they no longer need to collect Lizardman Fangs. But at the same time, I personally believe that unlimited teleports detract from part of the old school feel. The part that's derived from having to inconvenience yourself to get farther through the game. I don't want to go into like a full detailed discussion about that because I am not the most well equipped to argue that point, but I think the more automated and convenient old school becomes, the far less it feels like old school. And I think the old school feel is like, at least to me, it doesn't mean nostalgia necessarily. The old school feel means more to me the balancing of the game and how that balance is impressed upon the player. And I think that's what made RuneScape back in 2005, 2007, maybe even earlier, so attractive, was because the way the game was balanced, or the way of things of the game was impressed upon the player. But when you have updates that cater toward a mentality that wants more automation and more convenience, I think not only does that take away from the old school feel, but I think it also feeds into a sense of entitlement. And I think those two things together will create a player base that will no longer enjoy playing the game, and also make old school not something very unique from other games aside from poor graphics. I guess another mini tangent off of that tangent. The old school feel is dead. If you deny that the old school feel is dead, then either you are in denial, or you believe that the old school feel is simply some very shallow aspects of the not shallow aspects of the game. Aspects of the game that are very superficial, like the poor graphics or anything that's surface level that looks like old school RuneScape. I don't define that as the old school feel. But I see the JMods on the streams and they say, you know, when it comes to certain questions like, is this really old school? Is this really in the old school feel? The old school feel is dead. They killed it, it's gone. And I say the JMods killed it because they're the ones who they're the ones who allow certain polls through. I know the community has some blame for the has a lot of blame for the direction of the game, but I don't pay the community to make the game good, or at least I didn't. I'd pay Jagex to make. It's their company, they're getting the money. It's their responsibility to make the game good, and it's their fault when it's not. But I guess, yeah, I'll end on that. I don't want to get any more negative. Question 3. If the Portal Nexus is added to the game, should there be a hotspot that allows you to mount a dig site pendant? Same response to the previous 2 questions. Should it be possible to fill or empty runecrafting pouches by right-clicking them while the bank is open, using only essence already in your inventory? This is a question that skillers like myself really don't like. Simply because it's a straight buff to runecrafting for no other reason than to appease I don't want to say just lazy, because I don't want to label a group of people who really wanted this to be pulled as lazy, but this is a question that panders to a portion of the voter base that simply doesn't understand what makes skilling enjoyable. Maybe that's a little no, never mind. I take that back. That applies to well, I would agree that most people who play the game who aren't skillers don't understand why skilling's enjoyable. I mean, even the JMods evidently don't understand. But it's just a straight buff to runecrafting for no reason than to pander to people who just hate the skill and just want it to be easier. And of course, when you make the skill easier, you make it less attractive to people who want to pursue a hard goal in the game. And that's why skillers like myself have quit the game. because we don't like how Jagex disregards what we enjoy to do in the game. Question 5. Should a right-click option be added to Wizard Cromptery, allowing you to quickly claim the daily pure essence you receive from him after completion of either the medium, hard, or elite Ardoin achievement diary? Just more convenience and automation scape. Just making it less interactive, less immersive, and more automated. So I'd vote no. Question 6. Should a shortcut be added to the back of Alcarid Palace, allowing players with 70 agility to jump through a window after completion of the hard achievement diary? Okay, so I'm going to come to the defense to all the people who wanted a buff to runecrafting. I can't, at least at the moment, think of any examples. However, the people complaining about runecrafting are probably not skillers. They're probably PVMers who feel compelled to do runecrafting for one reason or another. Probably because what they want to do, or some meta that the game perpetuates them to have, is locked behind some arbitrary runecrafting requirement. And I think achievement diaries are the clearest example of how not to lock metas behind arbitrary requirements. Like, for example, I, as an agility person, had to get 86 runecrafting in order to use the Brimhaven Agility Arena, which is the most efficient agility training in the game. So I think it was cool that they did add buffs to Brimhaven to make it, the best XP, because Brimhaven is very much designed in the old school feel, or in the old school way of things, because, it was designed back then. However, it being locked behind like a 90 herbal requirement and a 91 runecrafting requirement for no reason is just terrible game design, because number one, that discourages me from doing it, but two, it may also make me resent runecrafting and want buffs to runecrafting, because what I want to do in the game is locked behind something completely unrelated to what I want to do. So, to this question, question 6, should a shortcut be added to the back of Alcarid Palace? To my understanding, there is no important meta that involves this area that would, seriously buff any legitimately profitable activity in the game if this shortcut were added. So, assuming my assessment is correct about that, I think these types of rewards would have been much more preferable for the Achievement Diary awards rather than what we currently have, because these rewards are so small that they make Achievement Diaries more about the achievements rather than the rewards of the achievements. Because, this is such a small thing. It just means you don't have to run around the palace. But it's a nice thing, But by no means is it, huge. So, I think if these types of updates, if these types of rewards were substituted in as replacements for the Achievement Diary rewards as they currently stand, and the Achievement Diary rewards that are that lock metas were placed in activities that were actually related to the metas, I think that'd be much better. I think that would also result in people complaining a lot less about skilling, particularly runecrafting, agility, mining, fish, and maybe not fishing, but I just think it'd be a lot better if skills in particular, skill requirements didn't lock metas completely unrelated to those skills behind level requirements that people complain about, and then the game gets updated to make those levels easier. And this is the type of updates, this is the type of reward I would like to see all Achievement Diaries have. That way the Achievement Diary, also can be about achievement and not about the reward for the completion of the diary. so I'd vote yes for this. Should the owl message when failing an urn in Pyramid Plunder be removed? Can't you just, like, filter this in the game or something? I think it's... I did Pyramid Plunder a little bit. I wasn't bothered by this owl message. I just vote no because this is just like a dumb suggest. Like, come on. Are you really bothered by owl? Maybe this would be an opportune time to go on a little tangent again about how whenever you change the game, you ultimately make it less old school. So whenever you do change the game, the change should be good enough to justify you moving away from what is old school. And I think this change would be just so minor that it's not worth making old school any less old school than it's already become. Okay, question 8. Should items that have options available while in the bank interface is open, such as the coal bag, gem bag, and herb sack, have the same options available while the deposit box interface is open too? I'm not exactly sure what this is referring to, but if it's just making it consistent between the bank and the deposit box, then sure, why not? I guess it would be a small buff in some situations, but it makes sense because it's more of a consistency thing than meant to be a buff. Question 9. Should bucket packs which contain 100 noted buckets be added to the general stores and farming shops? Probably, because I think the less dependent on shop world switching and shop sitting. I'm not even sure if that's the correct term, but I think it is a terrible meta. The shop meta. So also, not to mention buckets are already well, I guess this is an Iron Man update. I guess it does devalue Iron Man a little bit, but I think it's a terrible meta. So it's probably something that it's probably worth. Yeah, I'd say it's worth changing. It would improve the game in a way that balances it much more than it going away from old school, like how I was talking about in question 8. I know I just stumbled over my words there, but I hope that makes sense. Question 10. Should a version of the Calphite Queen head that can only be used for the completion of the Elite Desert Achievement Diary be guaranteed to drop after 256 kills similar to Vorkath's head? Those already above 256 kills who may not have yet completed the diary would be guaranteed to receive the head on their next kill. This head cannot be used to unlock the Green Slayer helmet. Okay, so a better solution to this would just be to remove whatever reward is on the Elite Desert Achievement A Diary that makes players complain about having to do this for any other purpose than just having the achievement of the Elite Diary. I forget what the Elite Desert Achievement Diary offers, but if people are complaining about this, then it's probably because there's something they want from the diary. There's probably a reward that they want rather than the achievement itself. That is my solution to this situation. So I would vote no just because I think instead of like making diaries easier, they should just revamp the system, revamp the rewards. Should the way worlds are displayed in the World Switcher interface be changed so they are consistent with the rest of the game? For example, World 42 would show as World 342 as it does in the main Select the World interface. Yes, consistency is good. I wonder why so many people vote no. I guess they really like World 420. That's probably the only reason this isn't passing. Wait, no, hold on. World 42 would show as World 342 as it does. Okay, so there would still be World 420. Yeah, I see no reason why this isn't passing. Why would people... It's kind of upsetting that people care more about this not passing than they do a straight buff to runecrafting. Question 12. Should a message be added to the chat box when you log in telling you that you have items waiting in your Grand Exchange collection box? Should you have anything waiting there, this would be toggleable at the Grand Exchange. I thought this actually already did this. I really don't care. I would just vote no to be a contrarian and entertain myself, but maybe I'd just vote skip question. I really don't care. Should the thermonuclear smoke devil be given an altered model rather than the current smoke devil model being used? Yeah, probably. I saw the model. It looked good. I have no objection to this. Question 14. If the above question passes, the thermonuclear smoke devil is given an altered model. Should the pet smoke devil model be changed to match the updated thermonuclear smoke devil model? Yeah, that sounds like the consistent thing. Question 15. Should the account management tab on the mobile client be added to the desktop client? The account management interface offers easy access to useful account information such as your remaining membership days, an indicator of any unread inbox messages, the name changer, and some useful links. If this question passes, the friends and ignore list will be combined into one panel with the account management icon filling the save space. Yeah. Like, why not? It's not helping you, like, anything in the game. Like, if there's anything that should improve convenience and automation, it's this type of thing. Should the improved banking interface on the mobile client be added to the desktop client? If this question passes, buttons will be added to the main bank interface that allows you to set a default withdraw and deposit amount when you left click. I'm pretty sure, I think they addressed this on the Q&A. Let me read this again. Should the improved banking interface on the mobile client be added to the desktop client? If this question passes, buttons will be added to the main bank interface that allow you to set a default withdraw and deposit amount when you left click. Okay. When mobile was announced, they said that any features that we determine are necessary for the playability of mobile, we will also pull for the desktop version of the game if people want them pulled. Which obviously meant that with mobile coming into the game, the conveniences of that would find their way into the main game. I don't think that the functionality being pulled in this question would make such a good, or would make a big difference, really. But I still don't like how mobile is able to influence the desktop version of the game in this way, because it still does influence the convenience and automation aspect of the game, which, you know, I went on about earlier in this poll. So I would vote no to this question. It's just not old school. It's so small that it doesn't justify being added to the game, in my opinion. So those are my opinions on all of the questions here. I'm sorry if I'm not as enthusiastic sounding as usually, because I did this like way into the night, because this is like the last day you can vote for it, and I didn't want to do this poll like after the voting window closed. So I got here in the very tail end of it. So thank you so much for watching. I do like doing these. I am really trying hard not to be negative in these polls, in these rambles. I don't like that, but sometimes it just gets the better of me because I feel so strongly about something. So I do apologize if I got too negative, too complainy, but I'll work on that in the future if that is the case. So yes, thank you for watching. See you next time.